Welcome back to this week's edition of the Cart Barn Podcast. We appreciate you taking a minute of your day to join us. I'm Chris Limley, joined by Greg DeWalt. Thanks again for stepping into the Cart Barn.
Yeah, Chris, it's good to be back with another episode of the Cart Barn. And this week, we've got another really interesting guest joining us, continuing our conversations with some of the top college men's golf coaches and women's golf coaches in the country. This week, we've got Trey Jones from Florida State University. He suffered a little heartbreak a couple years ago, losing to Coach Kleiner down at Auburn in the championship match. But Trey and you have a little history going back to Wallace State and the University of North Alabama. So we're going to hear some stories about that.
Yeah, today's episode is a special one for me personally. Our guest is my friend and former teammate, Trey Jones, who, as you've said, is the head men's golf coach and director of golf at Florida State. Trey has more than 2 decades building Florida State into one of the most consistent programs in college golf. He's coached PGA Tour winners, major champion winners, Walker Cuppers, National Players of the Year. But he's built a really fine culture there, and he's done a phenomenal job. Trey's just always been very, very personable, and in this conversation, I think you'll see all that. We go all the way back to times at Coleman Municipal Golf Course, Wallace State, North Alabama, UNA. Then his journey to Georgia State and building that into a contender, which eventually led him to Florida State. We talk about NIL, PGA Tour U, facilities, arms races, what actually separates elite players from the rest, and a few stories about Brooks Koepka before he was Brooks. So, yeah, let's jump into this week's edition of the Cart Barn with Trey Jones. Welcome back to the Cart Barn. Today, we've got a special one for you, one that I've been wanting to make happen for some time, and finally the stars aligned, and our schedules have worked out. I've got my friend and former teammate, Trey Jones, who's been the men's golf coach and director of golf at Florida State for more than 2 decades, and looking forward to reliving some past times and talking some coaching philosophies and some of the things that Trey's got going on at Florida State. So, Trey, welcome to the Cart Barn.
Chris, well, Greg, I'm honored to be here, and the delay in getting here was probably on me, but I think the most important thing is a good friend, and I've appreciated your friendship over the years.
Well,
yeah, y'all go way back. We want to go back a little further. Chris was telling me you're a Muni guy from Coleman.
Absolutely.
And we've all played Coleman Muni, which is now, I guess it's Cross Creek now, but back in the day it was Coleman Municipal. Give us your fondest memories from Coleman Muni.
Oh my gosh! So my dad was a park and recreation director, and when because of that, the golf course was under his deal. So I first started playing golf and taking lessons out there and doing whatever, and then I needed a job. And as the director's son, I got the worst job out there. Like I was weed eating and stepping in ant beds and doing whatever. So I would literally work in the mornings so I could play in the afternoon. But I just think that place was so great to me, and I love it, and the people that I met, and the people that are out there. I think about it all the time.
When was the first time that you fell in love with the game?
Oh wow! That's a funny story because like you, Chris, and all of our friends, we played multiple sports back then. It wasn't a deal where you just played one sport and you grew up and you were going to be a golfer, and it was literally whatever's in season you would do. And I was a decent baseball player for our area, and I'll never forget it. I think I shot 32 on the front nine of our golf course, and my mom was waiting on me at 14 or 15 years old. She was waiting on me behind the green to take me to baseball practice. And the entire time I was at baseball practice, I was wondering what I would have shot. So I think that moment right there, when you're flagging shag balls or shagging balls, baseballs in center field, I feel like I realized I needed to be on the golf course. So I do remember that time.
Hey, it's interesting you say that because we've had Gordon Sargent, we've talked to him and Tom Lovelady, and they both were baseball guys too before they transitioned to golf, and worked out pretty good for them. It's worked out pretty good for you.
It has, and baseball is such a great sport, and I can't get off without mentioning it. Mike Martin, the baseball coach here, was the winningest coach in college baseball. Is like a second dad to me. So be able to come here and to continue loving baseball in Florida State was a big bonus for me.
That's awesome. What was your worst experience working on the course?
Oh, probably that. Looking down while you're weed eating a lake bed and seeing your leg full of ants, and then jumping in the lake, acting like you're gonna die or something. There's just a bunch of ants. So probably showed I was pretty soft at the time, but I remember that one anyway, Greg.
I actually lived in Coleman for about a year working at the Coleman Times, and my wife's from Coleman. So you had the Muni guys, and then you had the Terry Pines guys. I always envisioned Terry Pines. That was the country club. That was where the highfalutin people played. And I never played it. I was the Muni guy.
No, I'm the same way. I mean, but Coleman High School was the only city school, and Terry Pines was great to us, and another friend of Chris, Scott Burrows. Scotty and I are best friends growing up, and he was a member out there, and so while I wasn't a member, and then I became a member later on. I never really felt that way in Coleman for some reason. I just didn't feel like there was the people that were out at Terry Pines never really made it look like they were any different than anyone else, and I felt like we were fortunate to have both courses.
Well, speaking of Scott, um, not to put you on the spot, do you remember the first time we ever met?
I think I do. I'm not sure if these two times match up. Let's hear yours.
Yeah, well, my recollection is we were in high school at Coleman Muni, and we're playing a match. Our high school, so it was Tracy and I and you and Scott playing in a foursome. That's my recollection of the first time that we met.
Well, that's 100% right. Because I won't forget it. I think our athletic director or one of our coaches came from your school, and while your teammate Tracy had gotten a lot of accolades, they had mentioned and you were the player. And that day, I think out of the four of us, you were the low one. So I do remember that. That's the same day I'm remembering. So no
I
question.
remember that was the first time, and then obviously we ended up playing together in some other matches, and then playing at Wallace State, and then again at UNA. So some pretty good times, but way back then,
No doubt.
for sure.
Coleman's got a really good golf history. I mean, there's a lot of good players have come out of Coleman County, Coleman City.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the fun part. It was, and once again, I think Chris and I both think about it, and the guys that we grew up with, even from Huntsville down to Birmingham, and the people that were our age, how well they've done and what they've done from there is really cool.
Trey, I guess if you could go back and coach yourself back in those days, what would you work on first?
Man, that's funny, Chris. You say that because obviously you're free, but I always go back and think if I could coach Brooks Koepka again, or if I could coach some of these other guys again, how much better of a coach I am right now than I was for them. I haven't thought about it as how much I would be better off that long ago. But my son plays for me. He's on our team, and I look at that. But just the information now that's out there that wasn't out there when we played. I mean, it was
Mm-hmm.
literally a Golf Digest, and you could get the tips or whatever they were doing once a month. And now it's just constant. So to go back to answer your question, if I could coach myself, it would be a lot more mental, a lot more prep. Um, we played golf all the time. I mean, and that was a good thing. Uh, but there wasn't as much detailed practice, I think, as there is right now, and information. But everyone was playing the same game back then. It was all the same. But if I had to go back and coach myself, it would be um, def definitely more mental and how to handle different situations better than I did.
In that same vein, is it almost information overload these days? I mean, you still got to just go out there and hit shots, regardless of what your ball speed is, what your launch angle is.
Greg, that's a great point, because while I mentioned all that information in there, I mean, it's still general information, right? Unless someone is standing next to you, watching your ball flight, hearing the ball, they can't tell you what's going on, and it's unfair. So if you're getting advice or whatever from something other than someone standing next to you, you're really guessing a whole lot. So it is a little bit overload. It's still better than probably zero, but you still have to filter it for sure.
So I guess kind of when in your game did you kind of set your sights on maybe coaching?
Well, my dad played college basketball, and he the only thing I ever remember out of his regretting, and he was always good about telling me, never met, never missing an opportunity to teach me something and valuing coaching. He was offered a basketball job at a big high school, head coaching job at a big high school, and he didn't take it. And he just kept telling me how he regretted that over and over and over again. And then, Chris, when you and I got to Florida State, I'm sorry, when Wallace State, we got to Wallace State and then North Alabama. I knew I wanted to coach. I didn't know what I wanted to coach because I was a basketball player and a baseball player, and Chris and I's coach at the time, Billy Gamble, coached both teams. And he told me if I came there, he would help me get in to either one, whichever one I liked better. But it didn't take me long to realize that my love was golf and I liked it more. And I felt like that was something I could make a bigger difference.
Well, after you finished there and you came back to Coleman and started coaching with Coach York at our Wallace State, and you coached some really fine players. You want to elaborate on that a little bit?
We did. We were really lucky there. First of all, you know, Dan York, just once again, another mentor of mine that I can't thank enough for, and what he did for me and helping me get started and looking after me. But those teams, I think we had Frederick Jacobson on that team and Michael Lundberg, and Freddie actually, Chris, came by here 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago,
Oh yeah,
just to say hello and stopped in with his family, which was great. But not to, I hate to mention people because you're going to leave some people out and say, why didn't you talk about this guy or that guy? But those teams were some of the top in junior college, and that allowed me the opportunity to go to Georgia State in downtown Atlanta.
Yeah, it's amazing the quality of junior college golf was in Alabama, especially back in the day when Wallace was really ginning and Central Alabama, had great teams. I mean, the names people you can pull from those teams is crazy.
It really is. I mean, there were, the guys that Chris and I played with, Per Johansson, and he went to Arizona State and played great. And I think
Ryder Cupper.
every top two or three player on 4 or 5 of our teams went to what you would call now a Power Four conference. So it was the competition between us every time we went out was really high, and it carried on from there. So no, it was at the time and everything else. I would say that the Alabama junior college golf system probably was a little higher than even Florida or Arizona at the time.
Yeah, that's one of the things, and I just mentioned it in another podcast the other day. But Greg and I have been documenting with this podcast is just how strong a golf state this state really is, especially as small as it is in populace. It's a very strong state for golf.
Without a question, and it just has so many great clubs. I mean, you think about it, the development of a lot of junior golfers comes from uh, people who care and people who want to mentor. And you mentioned Gordon Sargent. He's with Eric Eshelman there in Birmingham Country Club. There could not be a better person to do that. Tom Lovelady at Vestavia, the two guys that you mentioned, and we can go on and on and on from a guy you and I grew up with, Stuart Sink in Florence, Alabama.
Yep.
At Florence Country Club. So a lot of that has to go with just the people in Alabama and how much they care and how much they want to give back.
Yeah,
That's
very
a
true.
good point. So when you were coaching at Wallace State, what was the biggest lesson you took from that as you've moved on throughout your career?
I would say it's about players. It really is. It was a recruiting thing, and no matter how good a coach you are, you've got to go get the players. And well, we just talked about it, how good our competition was. The years that we were good, we had the dudes, and the years we weren't. So that was eye opening to me. When you're a player, you kind of see it, but when you're a coach, you really see it.
I think the profession, the college golf coach profession has evolved so much. It used to be, can you drive? And Coach Elliott at UNA tells the story. He said, "Can you drive the bus?" And can you hand out your meal money? And that was the qualifications he had when he coached us for a couple of years. So it's a little different now.
It surely is. There's a lot of development, but if I got off this podcast without telling the story, I think some of the guys in Golf Week would be disappointed in me. But I sat down with Coach Bowden my first month here, and I said, I'm trying to figure out all I can about Florida State. What do I need to sell? What are the important parts, and how do you get these guys to come here? And what's your key, Coach? Because he loved golf, as Birmingham guy, played at Roebuck, another Muni guy. So he would go back there and play every year. And I said, Coach, what do you tell your assistants? What do you tell them when they're going out to recruit for you? He said, Coach, it's really easy. I tell them all I'm looking for is an unfair advantage. So that hit home hard.
Yeah, well, you've had some pretty good ones there. But before we dive into that, you want to talk just a little bit about your time at Georgia State, because you took a program that it was a little bit lower program, and you built a very nice program, and it was certainly a stepping stone for you to get the job that you've had there at Florida State.
And Chris and Greg, I think we touched about it, even before, because it's about Florida, it's about Wallace State and Coach York and you guys. We didn't have a lot of resources at North Alabama when you and I played there.
No.
We just didn't. I mean, I remember you talking about it. We get a sleeve of balls and maybe a glove every other tournament, whatever it was. So you got two choices. You can either make excuses or you can figure out a way. And when I went to Georgia State, we just didn't have a lot of resources. So fortunately, with hard work and recruiting some of my JUCO guys, meeting the right people in Atlanta, we ended up getting more resources than the people that we were currently playing against in the Atlantic Sun Conference. And from there, we were able to go out and recruit a little bit more and treat our players a little bit better. And then that allowed us to have a lot of success there. But I think a lot of people look at some jobs and say they're just a bad job. But I think a lot of times the coach can make a good job. And that was one that was not a very good job, but it had some opportunity. And I was very fortunate to meet the right people there and work hard and get the right players in there.
What was the selling point to an inner city school like Atlanta? I mean, and what course? What was your home course?
We had several different. We were one of the things about the inner city schools, and I'll throw Georgia Tech in that mode, and I'll throw different, Los Angeles, UCLA, USC, is you're never short on golf courses, but you are short on opportunities to get out there. So you have to go out at certain times. You may have to go out at 7 in the morning, or you may have to go out at 2 or 3 in the afternoon. But when you're out there, you're at a special place. So If you can show people from South Georgia or someplace that hasn't been to a place like TPC Sugarloaf or Druid Hills or East Lake, and you can show them that is, and there's enough golf courses in Atlanta that we could play the Atlanta Athletic Club. We could play it, once a month or once a semester, and have enough other golf courses. So it was about networking there, getting them on the right places, but more than anything, um, people want to be around a winning team, and getting guys on a team that want to win, caring about them and taking care of them. It was an inconvenience, but you know, no one really complains about going that far to a good golf course. So that was my selling point at the time, and I'll stick with it. I think some of the inner city teams have a huge advantage.
I'm going to bet though that when the kid from England or Scotland came over, you said, "Yeah, we get to play at Atlanta Athletic Club." You didn't tell him it was like once a month, or
Well, Greg, that's the only time I'll probably disagree with you. One of the key things in recruiting is you need to underpromise and overproduce. So you have to do that, or they're not going to be there that long. But you mentioned international guys. The international guys knew where Atlanta was more than they did Auburn or Tuscaloosa or Athens, because we had the Olympics there in 1996. That was my first year there. So if you said Atlanta, Georgia, they knew where we were talking about. They did not know where Baton Rouge was. They'd have to look it up on the map. And it still happens in Florida at times. They didn't know where Tallahassee was. So it was an international city, and that provided a pretty good opportunity for some international players.
Trey, I don't want to jump all over the place, but that's just the perfect segue. One of the questions that I had jotted down is, what are the non-negotiables in your program?
Oh wow, that's it's really not hard. If I can't spend time coaching effort, I can't spend time coaching energy, intent, coachability, being on time. If I have to coach any of that, then you're not going to be here. And there's a big sign on our locker room door. These are the things that take zero talent to do. And there's a list of them. And we look at every recruit that comes in here, and Luke Clanton will tell you that was one of the things that sold him on it was these are non-negotiables. Like, you're going to go to class, you're going to be on time, you're going to treat people with respect. It's not hard to be nice as a team role. And that though we just don't deal with that, and I think our culture, because of that, is second to none, and it's one of the reasons that we've had a long run of some pretty good success.
So when you walk into a recruit's living room, and I'm assuming that that's still done today,
Yes,
what is it you're selling? What is it your vision, your system? What?
So the first thing I tell them is, if you're going to give me your dreams, if these are your dreams, and this is what you really want to do, then no one's going to work harder for you. I will not take that lightly. And if you're going to put your dreams, your goals, everything in your life in my hands, then I'm going to show up every morning. I'll be ready for you when you get there. And it won't be any kind of thing that, hey, let's figure out what we're going to do today. We're going to know what we're going to do when you get there, and we're going to get the best out of you, and we're going to push you. I'm going to make you uncomfortable, and I'm going to make you not like me at times, but you're going to really like me when we get out of the van and go to the golf tournament.
how has the NIL changed? How quickly did some of the kids say, "What am I going to get?"
It has. I mean, to say that it's not in golf is you're just kind of not being honest. But unfortunately, that's where, if when players hire agents and their families and money is real, I get it, and they have to value all this stuff on top of it. Used to be what they valued is, hey, can you get me on tour? Can you give me an education? Can you get me on tour? Now there's another variable in that, and I get it. I have two children. If they figure out that one other school can do the same and give more money, then that's what it's probably going to be. It's always happened. Once again, I'll go back to our playing days when we were on equivalency scholarships, right? So you're on 20%, 30%, 50%. And when you're sitting there talking to a player, they value how much scholarship you're going to, how much you want them and how good you think they are. So now that's turned into NIL. So if one school is going to offer you in golf terms $10,000 a year and another one's going to offer you 50, then they automatically think that this other school that has 50 wants you more, thinks more about you, and values you more. And unfortunately, over a 4-year period, if you choose the right school and go to the right place, then that's not a whole lot of money.
Is it a red flag if they bring that up early in a conversation?
Probably depending on the player, and how it's brought up, maybe how it's presented. It's out there, so there's no sense in hiding it. But if I ask someone point blank what's important to you and the things that you're going to use to choose where you're going to go to school, if that comes up really quick, then you just have to know where you're at, and you have to be careful with that.
I guess, has that made your job a little more difficult? It certainly has to have changed the dynamic some.
It, for sure it has, because once again, we were selling, forever I was selling, Florida State is a top 20 public school in the United States and an athletic department that finishes in the top 20 in the AD Cup, and our golf program speaks for itself. So we had that going, and now you add another element into it, and hopefully it gets all worked out. But I'm not anti NIL by any stretch, and I'm not going to be a hypocrite and tell you that we haven't helped some players out. But on the other end, I want them to come here for the right reason. I want them to come here because they love Florida State, and they think that I'm the person, and Florida State is the one that's going to get them to where they want to go.
How do you kind of identify your top recruiting targets? Because you've got the upper echelon of golf schools, and a lot. You guys are all going after the same piece of the pie. What's your approach, and how do you identify those kids?
I think every coach is different in that, Greg. And my personal thing is I like things that you can't teach. So that and once again, if I had to go look at Chris Lemley, incredible short game, a lot of discipline, was always going to be there. Kind of like baseball terms, be a tough out for you, and would be a really good guy to have on your golf team. So the intangibles that you can't teach, speed today, you can't ignore that because of the golf courses. So you have to look at the athleticism and how easy their speed is. If it's easy or it's not. But ultimately, it's about winning. I have a 4-shot rule. Whatever a good round is, if I look on all their stats, and if I see whatever their low round is or low 2 rounds is, if I average that and I add 4 to it, that's what they're going to shoot a lot. So it goes down to results. Don't kid yourself. People say, "Oh, this guy's a good hard worker," or whatever else. Well, at our level, they all better be. And everyone sits in my office and tells me they're going to be the hardest worker on my team. The one thing that I will say, I get asked a lot. I'm kind of giving you a question you're probably going to ask, but what's the difference between my elite players and non-elite players? It's their love for the game. So we asked that in recruiting, how much do they really love golf? And do what would they do, and what do they do in their spare time, and what are they willing to give up for it? And they have to love something about it. It's either the game or the competition, or just being on a team.
Yeah, that was one of my next questions. Is you've coached a lot of players that have become very elite, and we'll get to talk about some of those in a minute. But what separated them when they were 18 to 20 years old, and then I guess a follow up. What's the hardest thing to teach a great player like that?
Wow. The great players have an inner confidence. They really do. When you're talking to them, they're a step ahead. They're not asking you, "Hey, how do you qualify?" They don't care. They really don't. They're like, I'm going to beat them. Like that's funny. You get the lower level guys in there or whatever else that are just good players. And hey, coach, how do you qualify? What does it take to qualify for the team? The great players are never asking that. They're not. They're just not. And it's kind of funny. Like I don't care. Brooks used to ask me if I beat them, are you going to take me? And I said, absolutely. That's all he cared about. I mean, and so those guys, that's their whole thing is their inner confidence, I would say, and then their love for it. Obviously, they have to be super talented too. And one of the things I would say is, for your listeners out there, is there's there's this thing that people say, hey, there's not that much difference between you and I and somebody that's 125th on the tour or 300th on the tour. No, there's a hell of a lot of difference. I'm just telling you, between the dudes and the non-dudes, there's a, if you're only seeing them every once in a while and on a tour event and watch them hit balls, whatever, but go walk around with them every day. Those guys, the dudes are dudes, man. They're a lot better.
Well, that's a great segue. You brought up Brooks. So tell us, what was Brooks like before he was Brooks that we see now?
Well, so Brooks didn't. You'll love this. He's basically another muni player.
Yeah.
And out of Wellington, he didn't have the AJGA kind of deal because if you're stuck in South Florida, believe it or not, all the AJGA tournaments, all the tournaments are so far north of you, you can't get to them. And he couldn't get up there, so he was a FSGA player, and we recognized him and recruited him and saw his athleticism. I remember watching him shoot 44-30 one time when it was really cold. I'm like, wow, that's pretty impressive. But with him, once again, I think his deal is just get me on the tee. If you just let me play against him, I'm going to do it. And we got a good break with him in the recruiting aspect as he signed up for a tournament in Tallahassee, an FSGA event, Florida Junior Tour event. And at the time, we had the number one player in the country coming in and another top 10 coming in, and we're recruiting all of them. No one we're going to sign to. And Brooks waited around to play a practice round with them. And after the practice round, I turned to my assistant coach, Chris Malloy, who's now at Ole Miss, and said, that's our guy right there. I mean, because he was hitting it, past where my players hit it. He was just doing some different things. And then Monday, it's a really cool story. I had a meeting with him and his mom, and maybe it was Wednesday, and he said, if I beat them, you're gonna let me play? And I said, yeah. He said, well, I'm here in Orlando. I'm gonna walk in a lid store and buy a Florida State hat. So that was a really good day for us. But I would, yeah, that was one I'll never forget.
That's cool.
So who are some of the other guys that kind of separated themselves that you've had?
Well, I mean, I had a few. I mean, if you want to go recent, you'd have to say Luke Clanton.
Of course.
Luke was a college player of the year, the Ben Hogan Award winner, the Haskins Award winner, number one ranked hammer in the world, and put on a show last night on TV. But Luke would have been one, and Daniel Berger. Wow, I mean Daniel's talent. Immediately he kind of got off to a rough start when he got here, but once he figured it out, finished second in the NCAA's to Thomas Peters in Atlanta. But I mean, Daniel was a guy. He's an old school guy. Greg and Chris, I could sit out there and tell Daniel with a 5-iron, I want you to hit 125 yards, and he'd hit 125 yards. I could tell him to hit 185 yards on the next shot, hit 185, and then 215. I mean, it literally was his club head and speed control. What was the best? The best I've seen. Jonas Blix was our first signee here, who won 3 times on tour. My gosh, Harry Ellis, won the British Am, played in the Masters. Once again, when I start naming names, somebody's going to text me and say, "Hey, man,
yeah,
thanks for leaving me out." But so many good players. I think we had maybe 8 on the tour last year.
John Park.
There's a good one. He was a college player of the year. So
yep.
It's his birthday today. So
well happy birthday, John.
Yeah, John's birthday today. And once again, he was the number one ranked amateur in the world and the college player of the year. So John's going to 2-time Walker Cupper.
let's talk facilities these days.
Yeah.
Seems like golf has now entered the arms race for facilities. How do you keep up, and where does it go?
Well, it definitely has entered the arms race. I mean, everything has. Golf's becoming really important too. The athletic departments and everything. And I think, close home to you guys is Alabama's new facility and all the courses down in Auburn. But I was fortunate really early on. I think it was, God, if I had to look, I think it was 2005 or six. I was recruiting Matt Savage at the Olympic Club in San Francisco. And Mike Holder from Oklahoma State needed a ride back to the hotel, and we were both staying downtown. And so he's in the car, and I asked him, so what's the one thing how long did it take you to build Carson Creek? He said, it took me 17 years to build that golf course or whatever it was. And I said, so it's that important? He said, you have to do it. So from that point in time, I made that a mission here. And then, 6 years ago, we were able to get Jack Nicklaus, who has a huge tie to Florida State, come in and build our golf course here. And I feel like I tell everyone, Greg, I'm the most biased person you can ask this question to, but it's a top 5 course in Florida. And I can't imagine a better university course, period, for what Jack and his staff provided for us and how many times they came in and his son and their lead architect. So we're super proud of our place and the practice facility. And now we're about to do a clubhouse. And we probably wouldn't be doing any of that if everyone else wasn't doing it too. So to answer your question is just look around and some of the best practice facilities you can imagine are not at resorts anymore. They're on college campuses.
Yeah.
It's interesting how the golf has taken off, given that, it's the numbers wise, it impacts the least number of student athletes. You're 8 or 10 on a roster, but it's become such an important part of the athletics department.
It really has, because that's the sport that you guys can still play, right? So Chris can go back to North Alabama and he can go play in a fundraiser and be part of the team, and his son can go to Wallace State and be part of that team that he was a part of, and Greg, you can as well. So it's the sport that our donors still play and still enjoy, and the Golf Channel has helped a whole lot with that. Let's don't miss that. Every time we look on that ticker at the bottom and see your school logo or the NCAA championship or the 5 tournaments in the fall that are on TV, that's a big deal. I mean, I get a lot of texts when we're not on TV now. Hey, how come you're not playing in that tournament? Whatever else. So Golf Channel's helped a whole lot with marketing and guys are knowing, like you said, you're an Alabama guy. Guys know Gordon Sargent now before he gets to be a pro.
The two programs, the PGA Tour U and Accelerated, I think that those are great programs and probably should have been implemented a long time ago. Gordon stayed another year, he could have already been out on tour, and probably had it been now back in the past, he probably would have left early.
He probably would have, and that has given the security. I mean, Brandon Van Doren is the chairman of the PGA Tour U and the lead guy at Korn Ferry Tour. He was a college golfer and coached at Pepperdine and brought, I think, 5 to 10 of us in for a coaches board when we did that, and we started PGA Tour U. And we had no idea where they were going to take it or how important it would get. But it truly has. It's created its own life with itself. And it's something that it keeps people in school. I mean, once again, we'll talk about another Alabama guy, Davis Riley from Hattiesburg, Mississippi. He turns pro before his spring senior season. Like, he played the fall for Alabama, but there's no way anybody's doing that anymore. I mean, you're crazy because you're giving up full Korn Ferry status. You're giving up potential a PGA Tour card. And the other thing it does is it gives that pathway of finally to know that when you get finished, okay, this is where I'm going to go. I'm either going to go PGA Tour, Korn Ferry, or America's Tour if you're a top 25 player, and that's something that once again I think has been very valuable and huge, like you said, to college golf and should have been done before.
Yeah,
Or we wish it would have. I'm just very fortunate when it happened.
sure.
When you look at your scheduling now, you mentioned 5 tournaments on Golf Channel. How do you kind of set up your schedule? Because you're getting invited to every elite event, I imagine.
We do, and our ultimate thing here is how good can we be at the end of the year? So it's something we're trying to get our players on the best courses, market them as well as we can with TV opportunities, and against the best competition. So we have 4 or 5 staples that we're going to play in every year that probably have all the top 15 teams. And then we try to fill it in around that with either a home event or something that we feel like will help us prepare for the national championship. So we try to get them. I mentioned being uncomfortable earlier. So we played this fall. We played in Michigan, Illinois, um, Long Island, New York, and Atlanta. None of them were like Tallahassee, Florida. So my guys didn't see Bermuda grass one time the entire fall, and that's not setting them up for success, but it's setting them up for a challenge and setting them up for a good off season.
What's your best memory of North Alabama
Wow.
that you can tell?
No, my gosh, there's a lot of great memories. So probably, sitting there in the parking lot waiting on Chris or Chris waiting on me and going out and playing McFarland Park, and just walking around that on an awesome fall day. And that would have been it. It certainly wasn't driving out to Joe Wheeler. That was not a memorable thing,
No.
but I think for sure just running around McFarland Park with those guys and playing golf. I remember, I think it was maybe it's I don't know what it was. Is I was playing really well in one of the events there, and as a freshman, I think it was, and Chris and some of the upperclassmen came out to watch me, and I know that made me feel really good coming down the end that the older guys were there. So. But I love North Alabama. I wouldn't trade it for anything, and definitely wouldn't trade my teammates for anything.
Did you guys at the range at McFarland, were you trying to hit it over the road, Savannah Highway? At
Trying.
night?
So they had the mats in front of the building, and then they had the grass area to the right where they would let us hit off. Is that right, Chris?
That's correct. Yep.
And we would aim left toward the trees on number 1. I believe, and there's no telling what those golf balls look like. I mean, I think if we had to look down at those things right now, we'd get a laugh out of it. So, is it still there? Is it still?
They don't use it as a driving range.
Yeah.
Okay.
And the golf course is still physically there, but it's a
cross country. I think they were cross country
golf,
there.
and some of it's been turned into a campground.
Okay.
They built another golf course called Blackberry Trail. So McFarland has been resting in peace for a while, I guess.
But my short game, particularly like lob shots, got so much better playing McFarland Park. I mean,
so it's the first time I had a 60 degree. When I went there, I said I got to get something to get it up. So that'll date it. So I guess that would have been, what is that, Chris? 1990, 89 or 90 when the first 60 degrees came out.
Yeah, it was late 80s. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
we're dating ourselves.
Yeah. Were you talking about forgetting someone's name? We're getting old enough where we can get by with that.
When I played, we played McFarland and Arrowhead Country Club out in Tuscumbia, and
there was another one
occasionally
out
Joe
there
Wheeler.
Too.
We never sniffed Turtle Point.
No, they get to play there now a little bit, but
that's awesome. Good for them.
Yeah.
That is one team in my tournament every year. People always look at North Alabama, how they're in the Florida State tournament, and I was like, that's the first invite out every year.
The program is pretty solid,
Yeah. Yes, it is.
It's about the most solid program going on right now. Once they transition to Division I, I mean, it's a good program still.
Well, getting on the end of the hour, I got a couple of things. What's something that you're proud of that you've been able to do or accomplish in your role, especially there at Florida State, that people don't see?
Probably the network of people that are around us.
Mm-hmm.
Our my booster club is incredible. It really is, and it's huge, and we raise a lot of money. But from our golf course staff to the people that work at the golf course to everyone, of how supportive they are of Florida State golf and how it's literally one team that we've created in Tallahassee. And that's the one thing I don't think a lot of people would see unless you're a player. The players get it for sure. But how that culture, having an incredible athletic director and support above him, but just one of the reasons, like I said, when I was looking at places to go from Georgia State because we were good and had a few opportunities, is Mike Martin had been the baseball coach for 25 years and Bobby Bowden had been the football coach for 30 years or 25 years. And if I looked at Chuck Amato to Mickey Andrews, another North Alabama guy, they had all been there over 20 years. And when I went down there to interview, I could see why people haven't left. And it's just, it's a great place to be. And the culture down there where we're at is incredible. And that's probably what you don't see from the outside.
Yeah, it's very good.
I know you guys have been such a consistent program during your tenure. I mean, it's like clockwork. You're going to the NCAA tournament.
It's like I said, we've got great resources and great players and great assistant coaches. And I'd love to tell you I'm an awesome golf coach, but it's about them and it's about providing them all the resources they need from my assistants to the players to get where they need to get to, and then put them in the environment that they need to get to every day, as we mentioned earlier. But we're fortunate that a lot of great players want to come here, and we don't think that's going to change. And I'm looking forward to. So, Chris, I'm 58. I think that's the same year Nick Saban went to Alabama. So maybe we're just getting started.
There you go. Well, I've got something I'm going to say on that in just a moment before we get there. We congratulated you before we started this podcast, but we want to recognize and congratulate you, Trey, on your recent induction into the Coaches Hall of Fame. And if you would, just share a little bit about what that means to you and what that says from your perspective.
Well, there's not a whole lot of times I get choked up, but that's one. And I think it goes back to a couple of guys that you guys will know well. Mike Griffin and put his arm around me early on as a young coach. And I would call him up. He invited me to his tournaments. I mean, literally walk around junior golf tournaments. Mike, I'm one of Mike Griffin's guys. I did not play at Auburn, but for some reason he took me in and would help me out whenever I needed it and looked after me. So Mike Griffin was so super important to me. We mentioned Dan York and Billy Gamble, but I would say a lot of the coaches that you know I looked up to all along, and we're the cool generation now where the coaches of old coached 2 or 3 different sports that we started, and now it's got into you have 2 or 3 assistants. So it's a lot has evolved, but to still be at Florida State and to be here for 23 years and to be able to do that just mainly shows the support that I've had and the people who helped me get here.
What still fires you up about coaching?
Well, I mentioned it before. It literally is listening to the guys' bags bounce off their shoulders coming down the hallway. But man, I sure am. I've had to on several occasions put my arm around a broken-hearted team at the national championship. We made match play 3 out of 4 years. I think we made it 7 times or whatever, and had some incredible opportunities. And I just literally before I finish here, I need to bring that gold. My AD will tell you I need to bring that gold trophy into Tallahassee.
Well, I'm not an expert, but I know of a second. I think there was maybe a third and a fifth. Am I?
That's right.
Yeah. So we've been
Few-
close, and that's
few
a
of those.
perfect segue, Trey. I don't want to cut you off, but when you finished second to Auburn, Jim Gallagher Jr. posted something, and I've watched the interview, and you were extremely. It was just you, but he posted something, and I'm going to read it. He said, "I've been fortunate to be able to cover college golf the past few years and meet some amazing people, both players and coaches." He goes on to say, "I want to thank Florida State coach Trey Jones for being so gracious after their gut-wrenching loss in the finals and my interview with him." And for those that haven't seen it, I'm sure you can find it. I commented on that. He responded back, but Trey was in a very it was a tough loss, and both teams played admirably, and Trey made it all about the players, and that says a lot for my friend, and we're pulling for you.
Well, I appreciate that. Jim's an awesome guy, and
Yeah, he is.
though he sometimes, like you two guys, you have to be a player to recognize what's going on. But there was a celebration going on behind me, rightfully so,
Yeah,
and to ask a coach to sit there and endure this celebration when I wanted to be with my team, but he had a job to do, and I had
sure.
a job to do, and but my main job was to look after my players
Yeah,
and protect them. So I appreciate you bringing that up and going back and looking at that. And I will tell you this: I haven't gone back and watched it. You know, people keep asking me. My members at my club, like, that was an incredible interview. You have to go watch this. You have to go see it. And I haven't made it to myself to do that yet. So hopefully I will.
I've got just two questions left. Who was the better player in college, you or Chris?
yeah.
That's easy. That's
No,
Chris. That's easy.
I don't know about that, but that's
That's
very
easy.
nice of you.
He used
And
to loan me golf balls. He hit it so straight.
he does hit it straight.
Yeah.
And y'all tee it up today. Who wins?
Oh, I don't know. So the bad part about that is I don't play a lot of golf anymore, and I feel like he does. Because if he says he sees my dad at out at Point Mallard, then he's probably not out there
Buddy
spectating.
is out there on only on the days that end in Y.
He loves it. He loves it. I play golf with my son and my donors and my friends, and truthfully, I play probably 30 times a year. And this is one of those times. This is a time of year we'll actually get to play. Our players are home and we can't recruit. There's a dead period, but he's definitely better then, and I'm sure he's a lot better now.
Well, I've got two more real quick hits, and we'll let you go, Trey. Best course you've ever seen in person?
Oh, played or seen?
Either.
It could probably be the same one, Oakmont. Um,
Ooh, that's pretty
yeah,
good.
I was fortunate to play Oakmont a few times, and then I got fortunate with Tyler Weaver on my team. I got to coach it this year and walk around with him as a participant. So see it in those two different settings really wasn't that much difference, truthfully. But I would say Oakmont, and it's hard not to say Augusta. I haven't played Augusta, but I have obviously coached a few players there and
Yeah.
had some of my players there. So that's a long list. That really is. Probably my favorite national championship would have been Riviera. That one was incredible.
A lot of the tour players that we've interviewed on here, that's always one of the if you ask them, that's a favorite course of theirs and a favorite tournament. Yeah.
It is.
My
It's
last
just
one,
so
real
perfect.
quick, is what's the most underrated stat in golf?
Wow. It's probably relative, right? Because what's
Yeah.
overrated to you, or what's
Yeah.
right now with the speed, it's probably fairways hit.
Yeah.
It really
The
is.
the ball speed these kids are getting is just unbelievable.
It's just they don't care. They don't care if they're in the fairway or not half the time.
Yeah.
And as far as they hit it, that's just not something that. But on the same end, uh, from 100 yards, Tiger's the only player that's averaged 3 from the rough from 100 yards.
Hmm.
So, but I would say Fairways Hit would probably be
Yeah.
the one right now. They don't care about it. They really
Yeah.
don't. They stand up on a tee box.
Don't
It's
care.
about how far you can send it.
Yeah.
I wish
Trey,
I could
it's
say
been
the same thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, because mining your 6-iron out of the rough's not very good.
No.
Well, I'm my ball leaves the fairway, I lose it. I can find everybody else's golf ball. I can't find mine.
I get it.
Anyway,
Well, Trey, it's been a pleasure. Thank you so much for giving us about an hour of your time today, and we appreciate it very much.
yeah.
You kidding me? You guys are great, and appreciate you having me on.
Good luck this spring. Maybe this is the year.
We'll see.
All
Thanks,
right.
Trey.
Take care, guys. Thank you.
I want to thank Trey Jones again for stopping by the Cart Barn to share some stories. He continues our documentation of some of the best college golf coaches in the country, having come into the Cart Barn, sat around and told some stories about the state of the game in college. And since we talked with Trey, he's added a couple of high level commits for his future Florida State teams. Miles Russell, phenom from Florida, and a guy some folks might be familiar with, young Charlie Woods is coming to Florida State, and I know Trey's excited about that. So we didn't want to get away without mentioning those guys in the Cart Barn this week. Moving forward, next week we're going to continue our series on the Golf Channel's roots in Alabama. We'll be talking with Dale Wood, another guy with a lot of interesting stories about those early days at the Golf Channel, Chris.
Dale was the CFO for the Golf Channel. He also worked for Mr. Gibbs in his previous company before starting the Golf Channel, which was cable networks and around the country. So, and Dale is a good player in his own right. Competed against him in many of the state AGA events. So, I think you're going to enjoy next week's podcast with Dale. Until then, we'll catch you next week with another edition of the Cart Barn Podcast.